Good evening, everyone. It is Monday evening, and we have reached the last week of the course. And maybe for many of you, it couldn't come soon enough. For a number of you, it is as I recall, the last course you may be taking in your degree program. So, congratulate you on achieving that milestone in your life. It's something that you'll be pleased that you did. You'll always remember it. I think you'll always get the benefit from it. And as for this course, I really hope it opened our collective eyes to some new ideas, reinforced some old ideas, revealed maybe some common sense things, introduced us to some new things, and hopefully, as I said in the beginning, one of my main goals is always to have people walk out of each week or each session saying, I never thought of it that way before. And if we can do that, then I think we've accomplished quite a lot. Last week was very interesting because we asked you in the discussion in particular to take a look at the future and what do you think it's going to hold and what do you think it's going to be in that future for organizations and for individuals as well. What is it going to look like? And I asked for most of you the very difficult question for me. It's not a difficult question to ask, it's a really difficult question to answer. The fact is that we just really haven't figured out what the future is going to look like. Every time we think we know, something happens different. Differently, different way, a different technology comes along, a different event happens, something really, really almost cataclysmic like this pandemic that we're in, something really, really different, new. And in addition to the cliche we dealt with a couple of weeks ago, when we were able to say, yeah, it is a cliche, but it's also true that the only constant is change. The only thing we can predict is unpredictability. So I ask people, what do we do as educators? What do we do to help people get ready for a world that we're not even sure we know what it's going to look like? And people came up with some very, very thoughtful answers. And I thank you for your patience with that question and for understanding that it was something that I think it's not just me. I think it's most people in this world of education have to consider. The one thing I really liked about most people, you did consider the big picture of what was going on. As hard as it may be for us to accept in the midst of this once in a century event, it's going to go away, or at least be mitigated, or at least be confined, we think, because of the science. And what else is going to happen like this? So it's very tough for us to take our focus away from this right now, right? It's the big thing that's going on. How can you avoid it? And yet, many of you successfully did that. You went out and looked at, well, what do I think are the changes that are going to come out of this and are going to really drive business, organizations, societies in different directions as they go forward, and to try to make I don't want to say a prediction, but to give an idea of where you think things ought to go. This last discussion board really is not just to fill time, it's to answer another one of those questions. One thing we hear all about all the time is innovation and creativity. And we talked about culture. We talked about culture quite extensively a couple weeks ago. And now in this final discussion, we really talk about the culture of innovation, a culture of creativity. Is that culture, developing that culture, is that enough? Is that what is going to drive us through the uncertainty of those conditions that we tried to predict last week? So it's another kind of simple question that is very, very difficult to answer. And I will try to throw in a little piece for everyone in there that tells you where I'm coming from on it and what I think other people who have some expertise in the field are saying, and let's try to get our opinion about it as we go forward. Again, it's something I think will provide a lively discussion, but it would also be helpful as we formulate what we're trying to do in the future. Okay, a couple of practical things I have to come in here without trying to be too philosophical. This is the last week of the course. The discussion ends Friday night, not Sunday, Friday. By Sunday afternoon, I have to turn grades in. They have to be completed. So, if you do owe any back work, if you have any assignments that haven't been completed, if you have anything that we have discussed, and you and I have discussed many things, all of us, any arrangements have been made, you gotta get stuff done this week. No ifs, ands, or buts. It cannot go beyond the end of this week, because Saturday I will be putting everything together, and if I don't have any work from you on a certain assignment, there's nothing I can do. Okay, so that is a thing you really have to remember. When you go back in and understand what I've done with the work before, I hope you took advantage of some of the guidance and instructions that I have given. That's the same thing. There is no written assignment this week. It's all the discussion. It's all trying to think about where do we go from here, just like last week was. But those are some of the biggest questions. Okay, so that's the mechanical stuff. From my end, I have enjoyed much of the work that's come out of this class, especially in the discussions. It has gotten really good, and I really appreciate that. I said in the beginning, I think that's where a lot of the learning was going to come into play and to take place in this class. I believe that's where it has. The written work confirms, in many cases, what you talked about. You wrote about what you talked about. And I think we were able to introduce enough material to maybe just light a little spark of curiosity in a lot of folks that they went one extra step to find out more. And that's one of my goals, to help you get to that point of curiosity where you always want to find out more. That you're not satisfied with where you are, that you understand something that I did with another class the other day, a live class, where I talked about best practices and how I don't like the word best in that idea because it becomes a limiter. You say, okay, we've adopted the best practice, we can't do any better. Well, we can always do better. We can always do something differently. We can always come up with something new, innovative. And remember, in my definition, innovation doesn't just mean new. It's got to add value. So what I really hope we did this semester is add value for you. Maybe to be a bit of an innovation in the way you looked at things, and to have you asking that question, what next? And have you walking away saying, gee, I never thought of it that way before. I've enjoyed it. I hope you have. I hope you got what you expected out of it. I hope you got more than you expected about it. And I want to thank everyone. As you can see by the decor over my shoulder is kind of a recognition of the holiday time. So I wish everybody to have a very pleasant holidays. For those of you who are graduating, congratulations. For those of you who are going on, you're one step closer. Thank you again.